Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Frank.
How we doing?
I'm doing great.
Right on, man.
Welcome to Perspective Shifts All. Thanks for tuning in today. We got a fun episode planned.
Yeah, we always have a fun episode planned.
I'm ready to
But
dive
is it
into
actually, we didn't plan it. The universe did.
I was going to say.
I love giving the credit to the universe. My wife thinks I'm nuts when I do that. Because if the plan doesn't work out the way, she's like, well, take it up with the big guy. I don't know what to tell you.
Ain't my problem.
Yeah, it's not my problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You yesterday was Mother's Day. You have a good Mother's Day?
I did, yeah. I took my mom out with my son. And,
Good.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
nice.
Got to see my mom, Kayla's mom. We had brunch, got everybody together. It was a great family day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
right on.
nice. I always like doing that. Today's kicking off the week. We're heating up here in Arizona.
Yeah.
We're tiptoeing into summer, and I like seeing the seasons change.
It's more like jumping in the deep end, man.
Yep.
This summer here. Yeah.
I've lived in Arizona my whole life, born and raised, and the summers do not get any easier.
But
No.
I always tell people I love the heat because I was born in August. I don't think that has anything to do with it, but
Well, it's funny, like, you have these great memories of, like, summer that you always talk about, because you're from New York. Summers, when the weather got good. To me, summers are like, oh, shit.
yeah, it's the opposite. That's true because, from that standpoint, and also too, it's like a sense of freedom too. School was out.
Yeah, definitely that.
My birthday's in August.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is I never got to take cupcakes to school.
Yeah, exactly.
like other kids did.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
always on summer vacation.
I didn't have to. My birthday wasn't ever on the school day. It was always off, so it was nice.
That's so funny. Yeah. So where should we dive, or what should we dive into first?
Well, let's just talk about the different levels of understanding the work that we're talking about and to clarify some stuff. And we'll obviously always going to be talking about from different perspectives. But there is this clarification I like to make because a lot of people ask me questions about when they'll listen to not just us or other people, and they find a lot of contradictions. And I'm like, it's not a contradiction. It's just understanding where the person who's talking about it, whether it's us or anybody else, what level they're talking about, to whom they're talking to, and what level you are with your understanding.
Well, and something that's applicable on a certain level may not be in another circumstance.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like your mind trying to classify something, because that's what the mind is here to do.
Yeah.
It judges, it labels, it categorizes, and it says, wait a second, that's not applicable because what about this situation?
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first started learning these concepts, I started going to visit Frank. Frank was doing meditations at his place of business. He would close down, come 5, 6 o'clock or whatever. He would have everybody in, and he would do these series of meditations. And I remember afterwards, Frank would have these, or we would like conversate. We would ask different questions, and we would like kind of open it up to the room, and we all kind of chat about stuff. And I remember, like, when I first started learning about this, I had so many questions.
Yeah, you did.
And what about this?
Yeah.
And what about that? And, and how it applies to this. And you got to do this full circle in order to come back and realize, oh, my God, I have the answers to all.
Yep.
And that's what consciousness is. It's finding the skeleton key to life. And you realize all the answers to all the questions, it all goes back to the same thing.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like I like how you brought that because it's kind of like if you're a musician and playing, it doesn't matter what, just say piano. Mm-hmm. You start out by playing scales. That's really how you start out.
Yep.
And think about how cumbersome it may be. Like it's just one finger at a time, and all of a sudden, after a while, you go through the scales more fluid. Now you're bringing the metronome. Now you're starting to count, doing all these things. And then you get to a place where you're actually taking the scales and incorporating them into music, and you don't look at them as scales anymore. You just look at it as playing. But even me, at times, when I get my guitar to warm up, I'll actually go back to the scales. So I don't say, oh, I'm beyond scales, and no one's beyond scales. Mm-mm. But in order to do that, playing, like there are times I'll just pick up the guitar and I'll just play something off the top of my head, and I already know the chords, I already know this stuff, and something new comes out of me. But then there are times where it's like, man, I don't feel it, but something pulled me to pick up the guitar. Mm-hmm. So I did. So I just start going through the scales, and when I'm doing that, all of a sudden I'm getting back to that space where the creativity comes in. So no matter where you are in life, there'll be moments where, like, again, Mike and I were talking about this, and there's no actual goal for this, but years ago when I started meditating, like 30 years ago, it was very aggravating. But I knew there was something about it, and the reason what I knew about it is the people that were doing it looked happy.
Yeah.
Right? That they just look like they were. I'm like, I want to be happy. I'm like this freaking guy in New York, like, kill you, and rip your head off, and I'm like, I don't want to be that guy anymore. So I would meditate, and after a while, I'm like, I must be doing it wrong because I don't look like they do.
I'm still not achieving it.
I'm still not. Yeah,
but that's how the brain works. We think there's something to achieve.
Yeah.
You get to this where you chase it long enough where you go, oh, there's nothing to get to. And then it clicks, and then you start to just relax.
Yeah, and I remember one day, like, having a meditation, and, like, I felt this such inner peace. But then I correlated it to the meditation. I said, okay. Then I'm like, okay, let me meditate more. Well, once I did that, it didn't come back. I just was aggravated longer. That's really what it was. And then what I started understanding is, how can I get there? Like, and again, like, the word meditation in Sanskrit means becoming familiar with. Mm-hmm. So the more I become familiar with feeling better, I can just put my thought, like, on my heart now if I want to open up. And I could just do it right now, and I feel the energy going to my heart. And that's even more subtle than saying doing a 10-minute breath work or a 10-minute meditation, right? Mm-hmm. Can I even get to a point where I don't even have to put the attention in my heart? It's already open. But yet, then there are days where putting my attention on my heart isn't doing it for me. Mm-hmm. So I go back to the scales, so to speak, and I start to meditate. But I know at any moment I can do that. I can get back to this place. It's priming yourself into this place, no matter where you are. And you have to be honest with yourself, too, just like a GPS. So years ago, I just brought this up before we went on air. Years ago, when you were trying to go somewhere, say with MapQuest, these people are like, what the hell is MapQuest?
Everybody uses
Well,
MapQuest.
before the GPS,
we had this archaic program called MapQuest.
Yeah, even with the GPS, it's like you had to put in the coordinates of where you were starting from in order to get where you were going. Now, the universe, or I should say, the GPS already knows where you are, so you only have to put your destination. So internally, if you're frustrated, admit you're frustrated. Recognize you're frustrated. Because then the universe can or yourself, you can get yourself to the place of relaxation. But what would relaxation be without discomfort? Right? So
you wouldn't know.
Yeah, and that's from the dualistic understanding. So we want to go back to beyond that into the non-duality and then watch the dualistic world play out beautifully in front of us. But truly admitting where you are. Like, if I'm frustrated, I don't pretend to not to be frustrated. I put my attention on my heart. If that's not working, I go through the chakras, not working, I breathe. There's a myriad of different things I could do. But over time, what happens is my frustration is just a bunch of thoughts that came in. Sometimes I actually sit with the frustration because something got triggered, some circumstance outside of me triggered a feeling inside of me. And I realized it's not the circumstances that's outside of me. It's some unwanted belief that's in my system that was triggered by some external circumstance or situation. And I'm done with that. But I still have these old wanted beliefs that are in my system. It's kind of like you don't notice the splinter, in the side of your foot till you hit your side of your foot. And how often you hit the side of your foot? Not so often. And one day I hit it, I'm like, oh, what's going on? Like, well, you got a splinter. Now you know where it's at. Pull it out. And that's kind of how I look at this type of work. So every day now, all day long, I'm focusing on how do I feel? But I'm not like a lunatic. I'm not like measuring it. Like, it already measures itself. But the thing is I notice when I dip. And then when I dip, I just come, up to it.
We all kind of naturally notice it too.
Yeah. But before, I didn't notice till anger kicked in. Like, it wasn't a dip. It was like full flailing, Yeah. And throughout this time, and everyone's different. Like me, like somebody asked me this the other day about my journey. I'm like, yeah, I am a one step in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other person. Like, I was slowly going up the stairs. Like, it was kind of like this poem that I was reminded of, like, day by day by day by day, nothing seems to change. But when I look back, everything is different. Some people have these brilliant moments in their life where they wake up, maybe near-death experience, and they change forever. For me, like I would have these glimpses of moments to go do something like a meditation, what have you. And then it was like a slow, drawn-out workout. And all of a sudden, one day, I look in the mirror and my body's developed. Or I look in the mirror and my soul is developed, my understanding. But for me, it was day by day by day, never, and it's still day by day.
That's how it is for me too.
Yeah.
I'm not an Eckhart Tolle. I didn't just wake up and all of a sudden,
boom. Yeah.
No, it was a day by day.
Yeah, and I assume most people are that way. So, but now the work, the stepping, I actually love the journey. I'm not trying to get to this place.
That's how you know you're on the path.
Yeah, it's like
because it is the journey. It's not the destination.
No, it's not.
In fact, the destination, it's whatever. That's a moving target. Your destination's going to change.
Yeah, and so there are people that, like, so to speak, win the lottery, and there are other people that amass wealth of finances through the day by day what they consider grind. But once they get to that place, it's no longer a grind. It's enjoyable. And even if you win the lottery, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just everyone has a different perspective or a different path, let's say. So Mike and I's path seems to be similar in that day by day type of thing. We have peaks or what have you.
Definitely.
But what I noticed is even the days where there might be somber, I'm like, there's something to learn here. I'm not trying to get out of it. And in just recognizing it, just recognizing that state alters the state, because we're fluctuating. Like Bashar talks about this all the time. We're fluctuating in and out of states billions of times per second. Mm-hmm. So don't try to narrate your state here. I'm like, this is where I'm at. That's why, but the more we understand how we feel, we won't get caught up in shutting our heart down. That's the main focus for what I do, is keeping. And the reason I say heart, it's the first. When you look at the first centers, the first three chakras, they have to do with survival, reproduction, and all that stuff, and even gut instinct to see if something's coming around the corner,
fight
which
or
is
flight.
still fight or flight.
Yep.
But when you get into the heart, this is where you get into the expansive of love and openness and everything else, and then you go into the throat, you speak your truth, into your third eye, you start to have a transmutation of you're pulling in and putting out information into the universe, and then you just, through the seventh chakra, you're opening up into the universe. Mm-hmm. All right. So once I bring it to the heart, everything else seems to be easy. It's when my energy's stuck here that it's like it's like being forced back to kindergarten to learn my ABCs. Mm-hmm. And because I became amnesia, I forgot everything.
Well, I think I like how you started this, because a lot of this practice can seem contradictory from when you're looking at it from the mind. See, it's hard because you have to get out of the mind in order to begin to experience. That you can't experience from the mind because your mind is only a series of thoughts, habits, patterns of things you've known and had experiences with. Yeah. So to reach this next new level, you have to get out of the thinking, which means you have to get out of naming something, classifying it, judging it, categorizing it, making it something. And this can feel difficult, or it can feel contradictory, because it's not normal. We're not taught this. So it's like you're exercising something you've not used a ton, because that's not how at least Western society operates. It's just not the way we're taught to live. Mm-hmm. And so you have to become aware of that, and then you have to loosen into, or adjust the way that you've been having experiences day to day for so many years, which is seeing something happening, watching the mind classify it, etc. So for me personally, I would go into situations saying, okay, I am not going to judge the situation. I'm not going to categorize what's happening. I'm not going to classify how I'm feeling. I'm just going to experience. And I would show up like that. And it changed the whole trajectory of the situation, the outcome, how I experienced it.
Yeah, and notice, so I like how you said judge. What is judgment? It's a shutting down of the heart.
Yeah.
So it's a feeling. Judgment isn't just this thing we talk about, like you shouldn't judge. Judgment, if you look at somebody and And he's like, well, I don't judge. I'm like, well, you may not said it out loud, but your energy dipped. And then, okay, don't feel bad about that, like, because you were taught that way. You know, it's for some people, they look as a safety mechanism, right?
It's there for you to
some
recognize.
guy's coming up and I shouldn't judge. He has a gun in his hand, is pointing at me. I'm like, no, maybe.
That's a good time
That's
to
a good
probably
time.
judge.
Yeah. It's a good time to get behind something,
Right.
you know, that can stop a bullet.
Exactly.
But so that's in a natural safety mechanism, you know, the fight or flight. That's already there. So that type of fear is warranted. If you see like a snake and it's coming towards you, don't be like, oh, look at the beautiful, cute snake. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a reason that instinct exists.
Yeah,
is to keep you safe.
But if the snake is like 20 yards away from you, just like, wow, that's a magnificent creature.
Change direction.
Yeah, change direction. But you know, some people can walk up to snakes and it doesn't matter. But those things are natural, right? What we're talking about is you're judging based off of a TV show you watch or whatever, and what happens is when you have a judgment and everything in the outside world appropriates to the judgment, your heart opens up. So you think, oh, this is truth. I'm like, no, it's a falsified truth, because you don't have control over somebody walking in and changing the room. You don't have control over that. So then what happens is you're trying to mitigate by changing and controlling. So then you dig deeper into the judgment. So what is judgment? Judgment is a set of circumstances outside of you that generate a feeling that either open up your heart or close your heart. We want to even get away from that. I don't want my heart to have to open up based on something in the outside world. I want my heart to always be open and then express and see the beauty in the outside world. Because there is we're having an experience here in the outside world. We didn't come here to live in a cave. But sometimes you might have to go to the cave just,
reset.
Yeah, the reset. And to me, my cave is, closing my eyes and sitting on the couch.
Exactly.
With a candle lit or something like that. But the more I go on, the nuances, I don't need that as much. I still do it, but I don't need it. Like now I just, and that's a different type of understanding. So that's kind of what we're talking about here when it comes to the different understandings. And it can sound contradicting, but it's really not. At different levels, like when you were a young child learning cursive or any type of handwriting, there was 3 lines. You had 2 lines and one in the middle, and then it was based on uppercase and lowercase letters. Yep. Then when you got better, you just had 2 lines. Well, now you get to the point where you have no lines. Mm-hmm. So, but sometimes if my handwriting gets a little, I want to work on it, I'll go back to the 2-line method to write in there. So I'll go back to that. It's always there, but I don't hang out there all day. Mm-hmm. And that's the brilliance of it. Because then I go back to the 2-line system like, oh, I've learned something new, because now I'm coming back to 2-line system in a completely new way of looking at it. And then I could go back to no-line system, and I notice my handwriting is even straighter or more brilliant, or whatever, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Oh, I think too, it's how we're taught. So we're taught everything's linear. We're taught that it's like continuously going, in the direction forward. Everything's moving forward. But in reality, this experience is actually like a spiral. Just like a DNA. And when that clicks for you, you'll start to realize when you think you're taking a step back, or you think I've already learned this, or, I thought I cleared this on my spiritual journey, what have you, you become more comfortable because you realize, oh, this is a spiral. This is, this isn't there's no, oh, I should already have known better, or I should have already been there. It's more like, oh, this is coming up again. Okay. Experience, open up, open the heart, don't judge it. What is it showing? I didn't even know. I would have never fathomed that was still, present for me, or that was still a subconscious belief of mine. Honestly, what it is it's like, stop beating yourself up. Like, we beat ourselves up all day long. Like, I'm not good enough. I should have known better. If I only would have done this would have played out different. No. You gotta step back out from that, because there's really no place you're going. There's nowhere you have to be. All paths lead home. And when you really know that and you feel that, it takes the pressure off of having to do something.
And guess what? You have enough energy to do a whole lot.
Yeah, that's the paradox.
Yeah, and then you step in, because we're still playing out this script. So it's not like I'm just, like the goal isn't to get to a point where you're just so blissed out you're sitting on a perch somewhere in the Himalayas. All right. Now there are people that is their journey.
Oh, totally.
But I'm sure maybe there's some in the Himalayas listening to our podcast right now, probably laughing. But again, we're not knocking that either. But if you're not that person, that we're not trying to talk you into that. We're trying to free you from the unwanted beliefs that you have, that you're carrying around like bricks in a backpack.
Yeah.
And just simply release them. And when you notice you have them in there, okay, you can distract yourself, which is kind of shoving it down. That's all it does. It doesn't really work. It's kind of like, adding like 2 more bricks and then taking them out. You still have the 5 bricks in there that you started with. I'm like, it's kind of like when you put those donuts on the bat. You ever do that? You ever play like baseball?
Yeah.
And then you
Throw it on there.
You put it on there, you start swinging. I'm like, oh, the bat's lighter. No, the bat isn't lighter. You just put more weight onto the bat. We want to get to the point where there is no bat, so to speak. We're just completely loosening up. But to what degree? I don't know, But once I notice something's hitting, I want to realize I'm carrying something. It's a belief, and I want to let it go. Doesn't mean I get rid of the belief, but I'm letting go of the belief in no time. Like, we shouldn't be carrying our beliefs with us. They should be able to grab out of thin air if we need them. Just like, I've used this analogy all the time, but if I was flying somewhere, I would need a car to get to the airport, and then I have to leave the car to get into another mode of transportation called the airplane, get in there, and then where I go somewhere, I get out of the airplane, and then I get on some conveyor belt. I love those conveyor belts
that are just randomly for like 40 feet.
Yeah, like they don't, like, why does this thing take me the whole way? Yeah. Like, why is this part of the way?
Goes nowhere.
Like, this is for the people that just gave up at the airport. I can't make it beyond this point. All right, we'll put what else?
Those make no sense.
Yes. And then people are like, yeah. Anyway, I got sidetracked. And so then we get to the airport, then we get back into a car. But we're not carrying these things with us. So the lighter we are, the more our heart opens up. So judgment is something we hold on to. So once you notice you're judging, ask yourself, why am I judging? And just sit with it. And when I tell people, like, don't try and deny it, but just breathe in, nice, relax, open up your heart. All of a sudden, the next time you look at somebody and that you judge about, it might not have to be that particular person. You notice, my judgment is not as much. It's not that way. Because judgment is an illusion. Like, right? Because, one man's beauty is another man's horror,
I remember on my journey learning that, like the judgment stuff, because you don't realize it. But, I mean, if you look at, like, just your day-to-day life, you're judging all day long. When you walk in to grab lunch, oh, this kid behind the counter could give 2 shits about what he's doing. Or, you get on the phone and this lady has absolutely no idea how the hell she's working. We're judging all the time by how situations are unfolding. And when you kind of catch yourself and you bring a level of awareness to that, you're like, oh, I'm not going to judge this situation. Yeah. What if this works out? And then from there, it opens up this like new level where not only do you not judge, but you open up completely, willing and, open to whatever that happens. And then you start to even put a positive intention on it. Like, oh, this is going to work out, or, oh, this person's, going to do a great job behind the counter or whatever that may be. You change it now. Yeah. And that's that. So, all right, you got us to a place in where I was searching for him, in this situation. That's exactly what I want to talk about and where you are. So, like, yesterday a situation came with me. I had to go had to do some work around the house. I had to lower that storm door outside. Yeah. The storm what? The security door? Yeah, the security door. I lowered it. And to open it up from the ridge line. Yeah. So I lowered it down, and I did it by myself. So in my mind, it's going to go smooth. Right? Dude, no home improvement project can ever go smooth. I'm going to go to Home Depot once, and that's it. If I have to go to Home Depot, I'm like throwing shit, right? Story of my life. So because I already started out with this, it had to be one time at Home Depot. I get in the Home Depot, I'm like, why does everything have to be so far apart in Home Depot? Yeah. And all of a sudden I heard that in my head. Now, another level I could have gone to, I don't do this anymore, but I used to do this. Like, well, I can use the extra steps. Oh, yeah. Calories, right? Put a positive spin on it.
I don't even put positive spins on it anymore. It just is. I'm like, I'm in Home Depot. But then I walk in like, man, I have to go. Like what I needed was all the way on the other side. And then the way you check out is all the way on the other side. It's like, it's not working for me today, you know?
Yep.
And I realized, what the hell? Like, and it wasn't like, what the hell's wrong with me? It was like, I just dropped it. I never got the items I wanted to get and came home. And it turned out actually I didn't have to go to Home Depot twice. I said,
okay. Good.
But anyway. But I noticed the judgment in my head, and actually it created like this tiredness. I'm like, what's creating the tiredness is not the length of Home Depot. It was my mind.
The thought on
The
it.
thought on it.
Correct.
So it wasn't like,
You're
who cares
exactly
at
right.
Home Depot shoes,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
I'd be upset if it was too small. They didn't have everything. Like, there's always this thing. But
It's never the problem. It's how much we're incessantly thinking about the goddamn problem.
And I don't only even have to put a positive spin on it. I just drop it. And I just went and got my items.
Because even that exerts energy.
Yeah, yes.
Putting the false and positive
Yeah.
spin, which, by the way, is a gradual step in awareness and flipping.
Yeah, I'd rather
So-
you do that.
Exactly.
And
I don't want to discount that.
That's a different
'Cause
level we're talking about.
I did do that a lot.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. It depends where you are. So you have to be honest with yourself. So if you say, hey, at least, I'm going to, I have to get a couple more steps in. So thank God I'm here. That actually feels better than the other. But you want to get to a point where you're not even doing that, because that could,
It's also exerting energy.
Yeah, it's exerting energy from that standpoint.
Yeah, and taking it from, yourself.
And in the physical world, I don't care the way you look at it, what goes up must come down. So I want to get to the point where when it's coming down, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's just how life is. But from my soul perspective, everything just is. All right. So yeah, I noticed that, and then I just stopped it, and nothing happened. But then I came home and started working on doing that. Was a whole nother thing.
A whole nother set of challenges. Every home improvement project.
What's funny? It's like Karen always wants to talk to me when I'm working.
You're like, okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, what is it? I'm putting the new roof on. What do you need? What do you?
Just want to chit chat.
I'm like, it's kind of like, I'm like, act as if like I'm meditating. She's like, yeah, but when you meditate, I don't hear you cursing now. And I'm just,
that's so funny.
Like when I'm meditating quietly, I'm cursing quietly in my head, all right?
Very quietly, very subtly.
And yeah, and so just going through the act of that. But what happens is it was a judgment. Actually, I remember thinking to myself, I actually had to put the door up, and I put it up, and I had to take it down. Yeah,
immediately.
Yeah. I realized
you were like, it's not going to fit.
Yeah, it wasn't opening properly.
Yeah.
And so then it's like,
and you picked a hard challenge, by the way. Like a door, I mean, you got to shim it, you got to mess with it. Like that's not, I'm going to change this out.
No, because the thing was,
that's actually a job.
In my head, what I just thought like, okay, I'm going to take everything out. And everything was already pre-aligned. I just had to lower it. So I was just going to measure exactly down. It just never works that way.
Yeah, I was going to say that it never works that way.
No. But it actually came out. It came out actually better than it was laying before. It's just lower. I needed it to be lower.
Good.
But I noticed when I was getting frustrated, I stopped. I almost gave up, finish tomorrow. I'm like, no, I'm gonna push through. I didn't give up. I just pushed through, and next thing you know, I was laughing. And Karen's like, you're a lunatic, But
you're doing mental jumping jacks.
Yeah, because I was creating a little bit of frustration, the ability to function. So what happens is the neural pathways in your brain is so mixed up. My ability. So this is where the mind comes in, or the ego comes in, which it actually works. It knows how to measure. It knows how to look at something level. So these are things. It knows how to function. It knows how to operate certain things. So I don't want to get rid of that, but being calm doing this is like doing work like that for me. Being calm, I'm like, man, that's a freaking huge feat for me.
For everyone, dude.
Yeah.
I hated growing up because that's how I learned everything from my dad. He would just get so pissed.
Grab a hammer.
Yeah.
Can I brush my teeth first?
And it was always something, and it was always somebody's fault. And then we're going back to freaking Home Depot.
Yeah.
Everything took 6 trips.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was funny. I walked into Home Depot yesterday, and this guy stops me. I'm like, oh, shit. He had this clipboard. I'm like, oh, man, I don't have time for questions.
Yeah,
right?
some petition or something.
It's like, can I ask you questions? I'm like, all right.
Go for it, buddy.
He goes, and the first question he asks, he goes, how often do you come into Home Depot 4 or more times a year. I'm like, a year a day.
Yeah.
I'm like, I might be here 4 times today.
Literally.
And he just looked at me like I was nuts because he had to fulfill. And he asked me 2 questions. It was no big deal.
Yeah.
But it was funny. Like, who the hell goes to home? Like, people go to Home Depot 4 times a day, not a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Per
Like, if I go 4
trip.
times a year, you would never, like, I wouldn't be there to answer a question. Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
You wouldn't see me often enough.
yeah.
See, that's hilarious. It's funny how we watch these day-to-day events. See, that's when Frank and I, you'll hear us say, like the world is your guru. You don't need to go out,
It really is.
and to a cave to find yourself. No, you can walk out your damn front door, and the situations and experiences that start to unfold tell you a lot about where you are. And when that clicks and you start living life differently because you're like, oh wow, this is showing me stuff.
Yeah.
Like this, everything I'm doing is showing me something. The way I'm interacting with my parents, the way I'm interacting with my friends, my spouse, significant other, my colleagues at work. This is all teaching me shit about how I ultimately think and feel about myself.
Yeah, because when you
It's
go,
really powerful.
Yeah, because when you go off to a meditation retreat, which I've done a ton of them, when you're there, especially if they're multiple days, right? When you're there for multiple days, at least by day 2, you're fully in. Mm-hmm. But you're also protected from the outside world. And the reason I say that is because most people that go home are like, they'll start fighting with their family. Why? Because like, you're too loud. Like, why can't you be like Joe Dispenza and be nice to me? And, or be like, why can't everyone be like at a Tony Robbins event? I'm like, well, everyone's there, but they're not doing what I'm like, you don't live your life in an auditorium. You like, if you did, that'd be great, but you don't. So when you go to a Dr. Joe or Tony Robbins, you don't live your life that way.
What does Ram Dass say? You think you're enlightened? Go spend a week with your family or something?
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's like such a good
I remember
quote.
the first time I heard him say that, everyone laughed. He goes, no, I'm being serious here.
Yeah.
Go live with your parents.
Yeah. Go spend a week with your family. You
Yeah.
think you're so enlightened.
So when you go into these meditation retreats, you're going to feel really good. So what it's doing is, okay, my body, my soul, my connection has the capacity to feel this frequency. Now go do it when you go at work. Go to the job that you think you don't like. Mm-hmm. And why is that? It's like, well, I need to go back to another meditation. I'm like, no, that's the wrong answer. The meditation showed you can do that. Why aren't you doing it out in the real world? Well, okay, because Sally. I'm like, Sally wasn't at the meditation retreat, and I can't stand Sally. I'm like, that's your mind you took with you, not Sally.
Exactly.
Sally is never, Sally is in your head. She's not outside of you.
So when you like something, when you dislike something, all of that is all the mind.
Yeah.
And that was really big for me to understand was when I'm narrating, when I'm talking to myself in my head, like we all are doing all day long, that's the mind. And you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You can detach from that narration, that self-talk, this thing going on all the time, and you can step into experience. And that's what Frank and I are talking to you guys about today, is stepping into experience. Not judging, not labeling, not classifying, simply existing, being.
Yeah.
And no thought. And that's hard. I get it. It is. But when you see it for what it is, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, but use the thought to get you back. Don't get upset at the thought. Don't get upset at the judgment. Like, in other words, everything's, like use it. Use it as the lead to turn it into gold. So don't try to avoid it. Like if I'm sitting in front of the mirror giving myself the finger, I'm like, that bastard's giving me the finger. I'm like, I'm the bastard giving myself the finger. Exactly. It's nothing but a reflection onto yourself. So when there's somebody outside that bothers you, what is it that's in me that's allowing this to bother me? So it's something I'm judging and holding on to. Again, there are people that do egregious things in the world. We're not saying to allow that, but I'm not going to get bothered by it, or I'm not going to be put off by it. I'm going to contain it.
The moment you're pulled by it, you're controlled by it.
Yep.
This is why people, emotional, when you have this emotional pull to things, you're easily manipulated.
Yeah, and then good luck trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Now you're just flailing, and it's kind of like someone said something, but you threw the first punch. Good luck explaining that to the police that they said something. But you seem, and maybe everyone around you seem to be justified based on that. But I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Why did you get upset at somebody saying something? Because there's a belief inside of you that says either someone shouldn't speak to me, they have to respect me, or I believe at some level they might be right. And the empirical truth is none of those are true. You held on to a belief, a concept of who you are, and who gave you the concept? Like someone gave me my name, right? My parents gave me my name, and someone gave them their name, and it kept going. It's like this. It's like they keep passing the hot potato. Like here's your name. Like now people are giving themselves their own names. I'm like, I'm at the point where I'm trying to get to the point where I have no labels. If you want to call me whatever you want to call me, so be it. I don't care. I don't really care. As long as I know you're talking to me and I'm responding back.
Well, I like that you bring up you were given a name. We were also given our religion. We were also given our a series of neurotic thoughts. We were also given this idea of what we are as a man or as a woman, and these come from movies, television. These come from the outside world. We're given and told how to act. And when that clicks, you go, oh shit, I don't have to listen to any of that. You're like, oh my God, I've had this feeling for how long? Well, who gave me these feelings? Well, my teachers at school, or, I remember seeing this in movies growing up, and it's never exactly how you were taught, or what you were told.
But I don't need to get rid of my name because somebody else gave it to me. I don't there is a way to identify with every one of us by having what's your name? No name. So someone's gonna call me no name.
Exactly.
No, I don't Frank's a great name. All right, so be it. But I don't have any ownership to it. If someone makes fun of the name Frank, I'm like, I could care less.
Yeah.
Like that, But I wasn't always there,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I wasn't over there.
That's when we had to defend ourselves.
Yeah, and I realized one day when I realized I was really there, because you don't know if you're really there or not. You could tell yourself this, and a lot of times I would tell myself, oh, I'm there, and I'm not. I was at a Rupert Spira retreat, and you're there 7 days, and it's very intimate. There's only 150 people, and the meditations they're only for a little while. We were in Garrison, New York, up on the Hudson River. Like you're in this monastery that's old. It's beautiful. Yeah, but there's really nothing around there. You're in the woods. So everyone's hanging out with each other. Yeah. So you're getting to know people. We eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. So it's not like you go off in a separate direction. Like we're all interacting. And I met this one lady and we're talking. And I go outside and she goes, hey, Gary. And I look around, there's no one else. I'm like, hey, how's it going? She called me Gary.
Yeah.
I didn't have the heart to say my name was Frank, even though we were talking for a little while. So for 2 days, she was calling me Gary.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I didn't care. I knew who she was talking about.
Yeah, you know what you meant.
What was funny? Somebody else like, hey, Frank, how's it going? And I'm like, hey, it's good. She's like, is your name Gary or Frank? I'm like, Gary, Frank doesn't really matter. I knew you were talking to me.
I was going to say your intent.
And what it was is
bad.
there was a moment in time where it passed to where I couldn't correct her.
Yeah, that's too many times.
Yeah, too late.
Yeah, you've gone too far.
It was too far. And then she, hey, Gary. It was like
that's really funny.
Like, oh shit. And it wasn't like, my name is Frank.
Yeah, my name is Frank. I watched this. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen that movie Lion King, but it's got that little Timon and Pumbaa or whatever, and I've seen this little clip or something. It's come up for me in the past, and the characters say to each other have you tried not thinking about it? That's the line. Have you tried not thinking about it?
Yeah.
And it was so subtle, but it's so accurate. It's literally that. We think we have to incessantly and repeatedly think about something as if that's going to do something or change the outcome. When in fact, when you understand the laws of the universe, which have been proven over and over scientifically about where your attention goes and energy flows, if you really knew what you were doing, you would never focus or simmer or stew on something negative, because you're just generating you're literally downregulating your nervous system. You're creating sickness within the body. You're becoming off balance. You're generating only scenarios and possibilities of things that are non-preferential that you really don't like. And so when you know what that feeling brings, you would never touch it. It's like we're constantly like touching this hot stove going, oh my God, why am I burning? And it's like, well, have you tried to stop touching the stove? Yeah. That's how the mind works. And it's like, stop thinking about it. But no, Western society, or that's all I can comment on, it teaches us like we're not allowed to stop thinking about it, or that's just quote unquote putting your head in the sand, or what are you talking about? The problem's not just going to go away by stop thinking about it. You want to bet? You want to know how many problems I've gotten rid of by stop thinking about it? I'm telling you, it does work.
Yeah, because sticking your head in the sand is suppression. What we're doing is letting go, and that's it. I like how you brought up the whole like negative thoughts. What is a negative thought? It's like here you are in a situation in reality in life, and what's happening in front of you. Say you're driving your car or whatever, and there's traffic. That's reality. Who cares? A negative thought is this shouldn't be happening.
Or this always happens.
The universe is saying, well, it's happening. So what we call is, as we're moving into like traffic, it's called an interference pattern. Is my field of energy constructive or deconstructive? So when it's deconstructive, that's negative. And so when I start to think this shouldn't be happening, but it is, I'm like, even telling this story isn't going to do anything. But realize, is this happening? And all of a sudden, who cares? All of a sudden, you get into a constructive pattern. And the negative field of energy is when the interference patterns are coming, they either belly up and construct and expand, or they bounce off and cancel each other out, and that's negative. So you understand the physics of what's going on. It's not necessarily the thought per se, because you could have the same type of thought in another realm where somebody can have it, and that thought could be utilized as constructive, right? But thoughts aren't the problem. It's the incessant thinking about the thought.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be happening. I'm like, but it is, So, all of a sudden,
want to continue to think about that?
When I let go of I'm in traffic, all of a sudden it occurs to me to go listen to like, Ram Dass or Muji or make a phone call to my sister because she likes to talk a lot, and she's probably going to listen to this, but yeah, love you, Alice. But so when I speak to my sister, I need a lot more time because I don't want to just get on and off the phone with her. She lives in New York, so okay, all of a sudden it occurs to me to do these things. And that's what happens in traffic for me, rather than like, oh, this shouldn't be happening. Oh my God. I'm like, it's happening.
You're changing the interference.
But when I let go of it, all of a sudden, oh, I have more time to listen to this, to do that, make these phone calls. And all of a sudden I settle into that. Next thing you know, I'm not bothered by it. Well, or I just sit there and look at the traffic. I don't even try to do anything.
So, like, one thing, too, that is important to bring up with, on this experience, topic and what we're sharing here is the state of your nervous system is really powerful.
Yeah.
And so, like, what Frank's describing right there of sitting in traffic, and you can get really worked up about, oh, this shouldn't be happening to me. I got places to be. Oh, my God, this is the worst day for this to happen. I got to make dinner. You start snowballing, right? And you're, like, twisting your nervous system into all of these knots. And your body's, physically ailing, mentally ailing, and you feel like shit. The state of your nervous system really matters. And for some reason, science and Western medicine doesn't talk a lot about this, but to really create, to really manifest, to really, start to see these opportunities pop up in life, your nervous system has to be in a really calm, relaxed state. Like, this is how, your body regenerates after working out. This is how, new experiences take place. And so when you realize the state of your nervous system and how important that is, you would never allow yourself to continue to drive yourself into a situation where you're making that tighter or more uncomfortable or twisting yourself into a pretzel is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, and the paradox is when you notice you're twisting a pretzel and just like, just witness your nervous system going bonkers. When you notice that, the paradox is just the witnessing of me being angry, the witnessing of me judging, the witnessing of anything what we call negative. Just you let it go, and it starts to dissolve. It literally starts to dissolve. It's like, how long can you look at a cloud before it disappears, right? Like, it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
So don't get upset at the damn clouds. It comes and goes. The outside world is this fleeting sense of photons and modulation, pixels and everything else, just like a movie, and it's isolated to a screen. It seems like there's movement, but there's really not, based on other stuff. But when you start to realize what is really going on out there, nothing. It's going on in here, and then because there's light and the ability to project in, and we go into a visual cortex and we're looking at the outside world. Again, I didn't create the sun, I didn't create Sally, I didn't create anything, but why am I judging Sally, and why do I like this? Because at some point in my life, when I looked at a female that wasn't Sally, and they did something nice to me, and my heart was open, hence why they did something nice to me. I'm like, oh, this is how people, especially women, should act towards me. So the next time a woman doesn't act this way, I'm like, circumstance, boom, close the heart. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, I don't like that. So then I go up to them like, why did you treat me that way? And they're like, treat like what? And they have no idea, because they grew up with 4 brothers, and their brothers used to beat her up. And
but truly, that's
so now all of a sudden it's like, they did, and all of a sudden the circumstance around it. But like, why did I allow a circumstance outside of me to close my heart? It becomes really interesting. And when you start to notice that, don't try to deny it. You can turn it around, spin it with a positive story. That's a level. Do that. Like, it's kind of, that's the 3 lines, and then the 2 lines, and then no lines. But don't even try to mitigate it. When you get to a point where you don't even try to mitigate it with a positive story. Because what happens, the positive story fades away, and the circumstance is still in front of you. That's why I don't even like to use the positive spin.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, I'll get more calories. Yeah, but I'm still in Home Depot. Like, why is that a problem?
You're talking about witnessing things from above, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's taking a step back and going, huh, okay.
Yeah.
It's very funny because the human psyche, how we operate is like constant thought, and we're just blowing through this after this after this, and I got to be here, and I got to do this, and we think that's totally normal, and it's not. It's like very far from normal. We live like so neurotic here in at least in America, at least from the perspective I've grown up and witnessed.
Yeah.
There's always something to do. There's always somewhere to be. The to-do list is never ending, but yet we act like this rat race is going to somehow, like, we're going to win it.
Yeah, and the thing is, our society's accepted it, because normal just means acceptance, and
we've actually sped it up, in my opinion.
So it's kind of like the bell curve. Well, there are outliers on either side of that curve. All right. What happens is no one, we accept it, we allow it, we think it's normal, but no one is actually happy with that normal. And I've never met a human being so far that's ever been in this blissful state and try to get out of it.
Yeah, right.
No, they haven't. But when they're upset, they're trying to get out of it. But the way they're trying to get out of it is doubling down on the very thing that got them into it. I'm like, so
more thought.
Yeah,
more
yeah,
judgment.
exactly. So that's why I always utilize going back to the breath, or put your attention on your heart. Like, I feel like, I feel a little tense right now. If I put my energy, I can, and then I'm even trying to do it with my eyes open. And feel the energy around your heart. All of a sudden, it starts to change. All of a sudden, yeah, okay. The nervous system is activating. It's not as hyper intense now. All right. The point of the goal is never to not step out of that. The point is knowing how to get home. If I know how to get home, I don't care about being uncomfortable. I don't care about being somber. I don't care about that stuff. I know how to get out of it. Just like if I'm a musician and I lose count somewhere in the song.
So what?
Say it's a 4 count, and you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and you're doing that. Even if I'm playing 16ths, I just have to go back to the 4 count and wait for timing, and then stop playing so I don't interfere with the rest of the band members, and I come back in.
Mm-hmm. Which happens all the time.
I don't have to stop the song. I don't have to start the whole concert over. I just I'm at it. I'm like 1 beat off. Mm-hmm. Just stop, and then wait for the count and begin. Mm-hmm. It's like if you're dancing and you're like clunking into someone, just take a breath and slow it down, get back into rhythm, and now you're moving. This is how life is.
That's exactly it.
That's it. Just get back into that rhythm.
Don't beat yourself up about the clunk.
No,
don't narrate the clunk about how that never should have happened.
Yeah, and if you start looking at everything as a wave, right? And is this wave constructive? Is it bellying and expanding, or is it canceling itself out? And everyone's aware of that, but if they have if they're in the midst of a cancellation wave, they still try to do the same thing, you know? And like, it doesn't work. Like if I remember, like when I was young, you know, I grew up on the beach pretty much, and they had riptides, and you know, you would try to swim in the riptide. That seemed to be the natural thing to do, but it's not. What you want to do is let it pull you out and swim horizontal to the beach, or parallel to the beach, I should say. And when you do that, all of a sudden, the riptide just pulls you out, and you swim this way. And what happens near riptide, then there's waves on the other side that push you back in. So I would get pulled out all the time, but I'm like, I'm good.
You know how to get home.
I didn't fight it. I went, it pulled me out. And while it was pulling me out, I was slowly drifting myself parallel to the shore in either direction. And when I do that, all of a sudden I noticed the waves then will push me back into the shore. I learned that at a young age, because that's the only way my parents were going to let me go in the water if I knew what the hell I was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Keep you alive.
Yeah. And even strangers, like I remember this one guy, like I fell in this it was kind of a swirl. And I was walking out, the water's up to my waist. Next thing I drop in, it's like above my head.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and it's like a little whirlpool. It's weird shit happens in the ocean. And I remember this guy just staring at me. It's like, and instead of him grabbing me, like I was old enough to, he's like, he goes, and I was trying to step out. He goes, put your body parallel to the ground and swim out of it. Where I'm trying to step out of it, and it just kept me in it. And as I did that, and I spun around, and I swam out of it. Next thing you know, it's back up to my waist. I'm like, he could have grabbed me, dude. Like,
God, to teach a man to fish, I get it, but cut me some slack here,
Jesus Christ.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was probably like, I don't know,
12?
9. No,
Oh, okay,
no.
so pretty
by
early.
then I knew all the little tricks in the ocean.
That's so funny.
Yeah, actually, I was probably 12 years old. A cousin of mine, he lived upstate New York. We went to the beach one time, and he's only been in lakes. I don't think he's ever been in the ocean. And he got pulled out, and I remember looking at him, and I had to go out after him. The time I made it to him, I could barely see the shoreline. How bad it was.
That's far, man.
The lifeguards were coming out with boats.
Oh shit!
Yeah, they had the rowboat.
So you were far.
We were far out, and my cousin was freaking out. I literally grabbed him by the neck, behind the neck, and I was taught how to do this. And I'm like, stop moving. Yeah. Because and I held him, and the time the lifeguards got there. Thank God they just pulled us into the boat. I was exhausted.
Oh, totally.
But I'm like, yeah, I made it. I did it.
So it was all that flailing, all that fighting. It just kept pulling them.
Yeah, and I like, at first I remember looking at him. He wasn't that far away from me, so I went out to him. But the time I got out to him, we were pulled all the way out. And because the waves, you could barely go up, the shore would disappear. But then I remember I calmed down because I saw the lifeguards. What was funny is the first time I've ever seen the lifeguards in my life going in a boat. There was always a boat flipped upside down, but they would run out and they would just throw that,
come out.
I forgot what they call it, but it's that life thing they throw over themselves.
Yeah, like the buoy thing.
Yeah. And they come out, and I've been pulled in from that many times too. You get yelled at by a lifeguard. God damn, what are you doing out there? Like,
yeah, right.
It's not my fault. The damn wave pulled me. Why are you yelling at me? Yell at the ocean.
I'm just playing along.
Whenever we did something like that, we got yelled at.
That's so funny.
Like, are you okay? That never came out of their mouth. You stupid bastard.
You never hear that, no. Especially in New York.
No.
Especially there.
But by the time I was that age, it didn't bother me that I got yelled at for stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Kind of just used to it at that point.
Maybe that's why I'm not as sensitive as most people.
I think the main point of our episode today was really trying to share about experience with each of you, and how your experience is going to be based on your willingness or unwillingness to be present and exist in a situation, because every situation is neutral. All situations are neutral, and then based on our head chatter and how we're narrating, we're casting the situation into positive or negative or whatever it may be. But it's funny how the more we try to make something into a certain situation, the more it will backfire
Yeah.
on you, or the more it will, not go the direction you'd like. And it's like the universe laughing and saying, hey, you're going to keep
How's that
fighting?
work?
You're going to keep swimming,
Yeah.
and let this wave pull you further out? Or are you just going to relax?
Yeah, it's literally saying, how's that working for you?
Yeah. How's that working for you?
And like, if you're one of these people, because I used to be these people where you're waiting to go on vacation or you're waiting to get home to finally just take a breath. I'm like, there is no future. It's only now. When you notice the tensions now, do that, because when you're waiting to go on vacation, like now you're miserable, you're doing all this damage. Then what happens is you go on vacation, oh my God, nice, relax. But then how long does that last? Mm-hmm. I'm like, and it's like now, it's like, then like you're in Hawaii trying to figure out how to live there. I'm like, you'll get a house in Hawaii or Maui or whatever, live in a beautiful resort, and then give yourself about 2 months and you'll be back to being miserable.
Exactly.
Because you didn't learn a damn thing.
That's exactly it.
All Maui was just one big distraction.
And so many people talk about that. There's so many stories like that.
Yeah, we want to get away from that. Again, there's nothing wrong with going on vacation for the experience, because what is the purpose of life? It's to experience life.
Yes.
Right? Even through the hard things, these are just experiences. What we're doing is learning how to read these patterns, constructive patterns and interference patterns. Mm-hmm. God didn't give us a crystal ball. He gave us intuition to see forth into the future to some degree, to kind of gave us synchronicity, keep going, like little signposts. If I want to go to California, if I'm driving, I'm nowhere near it, but I see a sign, California, 200 and something. I'm like, oh, I'm heading in the right direction. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't indicate California. I'm not at that place yet. But why am I trying to get to California? Enjoy the ride. Enjoy everything else to the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's this tenseness of future. I don't like traveling. I'm like, why? I could tell you why you don't like traveling easily, because you're trying to get to the place you're trying to go to. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why isn't driving to the airport and being on the airplane, why isn't that enjoyable? Mm-hmm. Just let it go. All of a sudden, and coming home and going to work will be enjoyable. It's because you're always trying to get to the destination, and then when you get there, you're so frustrated, you have to start drinking margaritas or
don't
whatever.
Even remember it.
Like, hey, relax, and then you wake up the next day with a hangover and like, oh shit, like yeah.
The
only time it was good was when I was sleeping.
The one piece of advice too that helped me as I was going through all this is realizing, like, you're not doing anything wrong. We've talked about this in the past, but really, you have to develop this sense of awareness that what you're experiencing is a series of habits and patterns, and you need to look at yourself and your mind as software. And so stop beating yourself up saying, why am I still doing this? Why can't this? No. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Pull back. You are a series of habits and patterns. That's all it is. And when you go, oh, I've got a habit here, I'm going to change the habit. I'm going to change the pattern. This takes all this like guilt, shame, pain, all that shit away, because you're like, oh, none of it, like, this is just a pattern. A pattern and a habit is so much different than you like saying, oh, the reason I have that habit is because of my parents, and the reason I have this pattern is, because nobody really liked me in school, and all of these emotions that we tie to our habits and patterns, rather than saying, oh, that's a habit and a pattern. Yeah. I can change that.
It's like having a thorn in your side and say, well, when I was a child, I used to run through the
Giving
rose
it
garden.
Great story.
I was running through the rose garden. We had a lot of roses. I'm like, yeah, but why do you still have the thorn?
Yeah.
Like, pull the damn thing out.
Exactly.
So you don't have to like,
My dad used to yell at me when I had this thorn in my side. So you're going to leave it there?
You're going to leave it there? Just pull it out. Yeah. And when you pull it, and learn to just pull it out in that moment, what happens is nothing will actually hurt you. Mm-hmm. Nothing will hurt you. Like, the thorn stings. Just pull it out. Yeah. Then you get better. Then you actually go back to the rose garden, and you can run through it. Now you actually can go in.
You get what's going on.
Dance with it. You don't run through the bush. You run around them. Or you run through them. You can grab a rose without grabbing the thorns, because you grab it so delicately. Mm-hmm. And like, then you learn the nuances of life, and now you have a whole new outlook on the rose garden.
I heard this beautiful story one time. This lady was she's a spiritual teacher now, mm-hmm. and she was talking about her journey, and she was explaining that her first before she like woke up, had these moments of realization and began the practice, she went to like it was like a sensei, like I believe it was like a Japanese gentleman, some sort of like
martial artist?
Yeah, sensei, martial artist, something. And a very, very centered individual, very strong individual. And she goes to him and she starts, telling about all the problems I have. Like, sir, you have no idea. It's this, and then this happened, and she's talking about these horrific things from childhood, and she's talking with him, and his face is just, neutral the entire time, and she has this moment where she breaks, and he says, "Are you done now?" And this crushes this lady. The lady's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I just pulled open all of my wounds, and
why aren't you hugging me?
Yeah, all you say is, "Are you done now?"
Yeah.
But in that moment,
shit.
well, later on, she looks back and realizes that this was the catalyst for her to go, "Oh my God."
So you're saying my dad was a sensei?
Yeah, right. You're Frank. Hell
You're
yeah.
done complaining. Now go mow the lawn.
That's the thing is we build up these crazy stories, and as soon as you and yes, they are accurate crazy stories, and yes, they're horrific, and yes, they're bad, but they're just stories, and it's over, and it's not happening in this moment. In the moment, or the more you drudge this up and everything, you're reliving it, and you're hurting your body, you're physically and mentally hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And the sensei was explaining to her, this is just a lack of control of the mind. And it was awesome hearing her talk about this, because that's what this is we're doing it to ourselves.
Yep. And the best way to control the mind is to let go of it. Mm-hmm. Like we were taught to grab the bull by the horns. And like, why am I grabbing the bull by the horns? Why don't I just let this majestic animal run through the fields or whatever, and me just sit at a distance and watch it? Mm-hmm. All right? Let go of it. The bull's still there. But it's not, I won't get hurt. Like, I'll get hurt from a bull if I'm interfering with the damn bull. Mm-hmm. Right? If I don't try to grab the bull by the horns, the bull don't give a shit, and it does its own thing.
Exactly.
It just leaves me alone. But I'm still aware of it. And that's the brilliance of life. Thoughts are going to come. They're not yours. Don't grab onto them. Just notice them. And if you start to grab onto it, just noticing I'm grabbing on, I'm like, wow, why am I grabbing onto that thought? Just the simple question, why am I doing that? You start to loosen the grip. Mm-hmm. And then you watch it, like, oh my God, it feels good. Keep doing that. Notice it. Just loosen the grip up. And after a while, you'll stop grabbing it. If you find you grabbing it, so what? Who cares? I've been grabbing onto it. Just loosen your grip up. Mm-hmm. And notice as you loosen the grip up, the more you get familiar with loosening grip up. This is where the brilliance of nuance in the world.
Synchronicities. Yeah. Opportunities.
Yeah. This is where the great athletes, the great musicians, the great poets, the great, it's like what made it that way is they let go of everything and something came in. Yeah. Like, because every great artist came about not based on what somebody else did. Mm-hmm. Right? You think about like some of these artists, we talked about this once, so I'll bring it up, but Jackson Pollock, my wife's teaching him today. It's the last lesson for the year.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah. And I've always liked him because I never understood his art. I remember when I first became aware of it, it resurfaced like in, say, the 80s. I remember having a T-shirt that had his painting on it, like the splash painting or the drip painting, whatever you want to call it.
That's cool.
But I was always thinking, like, why I can do that. Like, but you can't, but you're drawn to it. Mm-hmm. And then you find out that he would get into these flows of state. And when you take all the fractal, the patterns to it are fractally accurate all the way through.
How cool.
It's amazing. Like even these MIT students try to recreate some type of pendulum to redo it and they couldn't. So, but it wasn't like he was living in New York City and one of his famous paintings, he was commissioned by Guggenheim, the woman who ran the Guggenheim Museum.
How cool.
And it was based on his girlfriend that got him the gig, and she was an artist too. And he was sitting in his room. They had, I think it had to be like 20 by 8. It was a big piece.
Big.
Yeah, big piece. And he was in a small apartment. He had to knock down a wall in the apartment to get the canvas in. But he stood there looking at the canvas, and he had like a certain amount, I think 5 months or so, I don't know the story completely, to get it done. And he would sit in there and just stare at it. And bringing it to life. Bring it up, and to the point where they were going to pull the commission away from him. And then one day he went in there, and his girlfriend walked into the bathroom and seen him sitting there with paint all over him. And she's like, "What happened?" He nearly did about like 70% of it in one night.
Holy shit!
Yeah. And then he finished up. But that's how I got his that's how he got settled on the map. And he did something that no one's really ever done before. But then now they moved upstate New York, and one day he got into the splatter paint, and no one's ever done that before.
God.
Like, and all of a sudden, you couldn't. Then everyone's trying to do it. You couldn't figure it out. But the point I was trying to make is he had to let go of something in order for this to come through. But the people around him, especially his girlfriend, knew he had it in him.
Yeah.
She saw it. She had it in him. But he was an alcoholic. He was a tough guy to be around. But
Yeah.
But once he let go, but everyone, we have it in us. We just have to let go of any idea of who you are, any concept of who you are, to let that thing into why you came here, to shine. Yeah. That's the purpose, is letting go of stuff. Nothing's going to happen to you if you let go. Bad. But what's going to happen when you let go is just like a hot air balloon, you float. Because it's the tethering that keeps it down, not the lack of helium or hot air. The hot air wants to go up, but I'm tethered. I want to cut those tethers and let it float up. And then that's why we came here. Yeah, letting go.
I love that.
Loosen your grip.
That's it. I like how you said that. Loosen your grip. That is it. The more you loosen the grip.
And if you're white knuckling it and you go from white knuckles to this, you're going in the right direction. And I go from this to this, I'm in the right direction. I keep doing this like that. Sometimes I go back, but loosening up. If you go from white knuckles to going back to having color in your hand, you're doing a great job. Even though you didn't let go, you're still moving in the right direction. And be kind to yourself.
Above all, be kind to yourself.
But also be the sensei.
Yeah.
Are you done? How's that working?
See, that's the paradox.
That's brilliant. I love that.
I know, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And the lady was great. She's a spiritual the teacher. She runs her own thing now.
She was probably pissed that day, but
she was. She talked about it. And she talked about how much her ego hated it and how it was horrible. But that was a defining moment for her, that she began to realize that these were all just stories that I've been holding, carrying, telling myself day in, day out. And that's the reason I never got better.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please like, comment, and share. You can see us on Perspective Shift Now or youtube.com/Perspective Shift Now. Keep in mind, guys, we are doing the first Monday of every month. We're running our YouTube live, where Frank and I will be live on our YouTube channel. You guys can pop in, join us. We had a few of you guys jump in last week, ask some questions, and share. That was great. Thank you guys for doing that. And then, you've got us on Spotify, Apple Music, all of the above.
Yeah, and that's 9:30 a.m.
Yep.
Arizona. Make sure you put Arizona time.
Google Arizona
some days
time.
of years we're Mountain Standard, and the other times we're in Pacific. That depends, because we do not change our time. But, check that out. And, just remember, loosen up your grip.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, are you done?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be your own guru and be your own sensei.
Yep.
And then,
we'll see you guys next week. Thanks
Much
for tuning
love
in, guys.
Peace out.
Thanks.